When you live all your life next to the ocean, you think you're invincible. Unfortunately for Nick Slater, even the most experienced surfers can fall prey to the great white shark. Hit like and subscribe. This is Fierce. Nick Slater loved the ocean. It served as his haven, a place where he could unwind after a demanding day at the real estate office. His favorite spot was Greenmount Beach on the southern Gold Coast. With its consistent waves and picturesque surroundings, it's a surfer's paradise. Tuesdays like this one were Nick's favorite kind of Tuesdays because he got out of the office early and went surfing. He would often talk about how being out on the water gave him a sense of peace and how everything seemed to disappear when he rode a wave. He cherished surfing's challenge, excitement, and sense of community. On that fateful Tuesday, Nick finished his work early, eager to get out on the water. The waves were calling to him. As a seasoned surfer, Nick was 46 years old, aware of the dangers, but always mindful of the sea's strength. Nick caught a couple of good waves early on. He felt in tune with the water, with every movement of his body in harmony with the board beneath him. The worries of his everyday life melted away, replaced by the pure joy of surfing. As the afternoon wore on, Nick's confidence gained a huge boost. He was now ready for bigger waves. The 46-year-old man paddled out a bit further, where the waves were bigger and more powerful. The water was clear and inviting, with no sign of danger. Or so he thought, for underneath lurked a 15-foot-long great white shark, one of the ocean's greatest apex predators. As he stood up on his board, he felt a rush of adrenaline. These were the kind of moments he lived for. Growing up on the southern Gold Coast, he spent endless hours on sandy shores and in clear blue waters. Once he learned how to surf, no one could get him out of the water. Riding the waves, he felt right at home. That moment of pure serenity was suddenly shattered when a powerful force struck his board from underneath. Nick lost his balance and fell into the warm water. He saw his board flying through the air, then disappearing under the waves. The next moment, he felt a sharp, excruciating pain in his leg. The shark's serrated teeth sawed through Nick's leg with massive force. The animal shook its head continuously while it ripped skin and flesh, exposing bones. Despite the terror and pain, Nick's instincts as a surfer kicked in. He knew he had to get to the surface to get air. For a brief moment, he was able to escape and surface, struggling to breathe. His shouts for help were heard by beachgoers, who immediately ran toward the waves to save him. Before his rescuers reached the water, the shark pulled him under again. Struggling to stay conscious, Nick's vision became blurry. He could feel the shark's strong jaws crushing his leg and its teeth ripping through his flesh. With the last of his strength, he attempted to fight back, punching and kicking, but in vain. The shark was simply too strong, a bulldozer of an animal. The attack finished as quickly as it began. The splashes of water subsided, and the dark silhouette of the shark left the scene, returning to the shadows. Jade Parker, a fellow surfer who had been about to enter the water, saw Nick's board floating aimlessly, with Nick's body nearby, unmoving. A chill ran down his spine as he realized the gravity of this situation. Parker ran down the beach, dropped his board, and sort of trudged through the lineup to get to him. There was already a crowd of people pointing and yelling toward the water, trying to see what had happened. Jade swam as quickly as he could, shouting for help. 3 other surfers joined him. When they finally got to Nick, he had already passed out, and they saw his leg was a horrific scene of blood and ripped flesh. From his groin down to where his leg was supposed to be, it remained nothing but a gory scene. Together, they were able to pull him onto a surfboard, starting the difficult process of getting him to safety. As they finally reached the beach, a larger crowd had gathered, drawn by the commotion. Lifeguards and beachgoers rushed to help. The scene was chaotic, filled with urgent calls for assistance and the sound of sirens in the distance. Despite their best efforts, it was clear that Nick's injuries were too severe. He had lost a significant amount of blood, and his body was unresponsive. Glancing down at Nick's surfboard, Jade saw a big bite mark. a rough circle roughly the size of a basketball. Embedded in the fiberglass was a 1.6-inch tooth, unmistakably from a great white shark. The reality of the situation hit hard. Nick had been a victim of a great white shark attack. His chances of survival were slim at best. When paramedics arrived, they assumed control, but their options were limited. Nick's injuries were catastrophic, and he had already slipped away. In the frenzy of the moment, Jade and the other surfers thought Nick was still alive. To them, he was still breathing. In reality, Nick was already dead before they managed to reach him. A lonely and terrible death. The shark tooth that Jade found embedded in Nick's board was later analyzed. It was definitely a great white shark tooth. Great whites are the world's largest predatory fish. They get their name after their white underbellies, but their top sides can come in a variety of browns and grays. This stark contrast allows these types of sharks to blend in with their surroundings, and thanks to the immensely popular 1975 film, Jaws, which starred a massive great white, this species is one of the most recognized sharks on the planet. Great whites can rocket through the water at speeds approaching 35 miles per hour. This speed and a bite force of up to 1.8 metric tons allow the shark to quickly inflict massive trauma on their prey, disabling their target and thus protecting against a counterattack. The great white shark's infamous smile is made up of 7 rows of serrated 2.5-inch long teeth. While the animal possesses around 300 teeth in total, most aren't used to bite. Great white sharks have a bite more than 20 times stronger than a human, so you can only imagine the way Nick felt when that shark started to maul him. The pain is indescribable. Some victims don't even feel the pain. They simply succumb to the horrible death. Like Jade, a lot of surfers did not let the tragedy stop them. It's just a simple fact that you have to take that risk getting into the water, he said. If there are things that can help us not get killed in the water, I am all up for that, especially shark devices. After Nick passed away, the Gold Coast's reputation as having generally safe beaches was damaged, and conversations about how to better safeguard beachgoers without endangering marine life were sparked by the incident. Nick Slater's death was a real tragedy, especially knowing his bubbly personality and love for the ocean. Some people would say it's an unfair death, which is definitely true. However, you should always be prepared when going into a shark's territory. You never know if one day it will be your last swim ever.